Hello and welcome to the TripOn podcast. And normally we would introduce the podcast with our standard intro, but it's a bit different this time. And what is the occasion, Alex?
Yeah, so we are celebrating 1 year anniversary and we would like to briefly discuss our 1 year of podcast.
A little over 1 year ago, we released the very first, it's not even an episode, it was a 30-second trailer. And after that, we immediately released the introduction. And we are now 1 year along the way, and we have a lot that happened in the meantime. We kind of started this as a hobby. We didn't really expect how far we could take it. So, I wanted to ask you, Alex, did you expect to reach the 1 year anniversary?
No, to be honest, sometimes it was a little bit challenging for us and we had to face some difficulties with equipment or distance. And I would say it is quite of an achievement and I think we enjoyed it. I hope we also improved with each episode.
Yeah, just to give a short introduction, especially for everyone who's new to the podcast. So, my name is Lee. I'm a creative lead in the theme park industry.
My name is Alex and I'm an architect. And right now I am traveling.
And we are focusing with our podcast mostly on entertainment, architecture, urban life, but also theme parks, obviously, and attractions. And we often discuss trips. They can either be very short trips, city trips, maybe even road trips. And we try to give you always a very good understanding of what we experience and if it is maybe something for you. And we try to give you also a tip if it is a trip on, a consider, or a trip off for us. Just a very quick recap. The last episode we talked about Hong Kong Disneyland, which is actually a two-part episode about this visit to this amazing park. But I just wanted to quickly touch upon the fact that I realized that we didn't really talk about the dark ride Mystic Manor, which is a very famous and quite a significant dark ride, which especially for Hong Kong Disneyland was a very important step in their history. So I just briefly want to talk about that one still.
Yeah, I think maybe we didn't touch that much on it because we couldn't really see the building. It was under construction, but the whole queue line and the attraction inside we've enjoyed a lot and it was a very good dark ride. I think also our bit grumpy minute about this one was that it's not really a land, it's more singular attraction in the zone. And this was feeling a little bit to us, maybe not enough, I would say.
Yeah, Mystic Manor has such a unique design language and style and characters that I think I would have liked to see a bit more of that particular design language. I think the one dark ride with a restaurant next to it and a little bit of a garden, it just didn't feel like a very complete zone to me. Especially that it's unique to Hong Kong. And it just has so much more potential in it, I think. Like this whole world of an adventurer and it was collecting items from all over the world. I think there was so much more potential in it and it could have been a great total themed land.
How do you rate it? How did you experience the ride?
Mystic Manor was quite a well-known dark ride within the industry because it was this big, unique dark ride that Hong Kong Disneyland Resort finally got, which they really deserved actually. And because it is the only one in the world within any of the Disney parks, it is also kind of a reason to go to Hong Kong to really experience this one. So it was really special to actually finally ride it. And if it really lives up to its reputation, I think it does. I think there are certain things in the dark ride that you see now that probably would be done better now with new technologies, with maybe a different approach to how certain things are done technically. But still, I think the core of the ride is extremely strong. It's a very pleasant, very cartoony approach to something that is about a dark and haunted mansion. In this case, the central storyline is all about magic and mystery. And it's just very smart to me how they use certain stereotypes and how they use the characters. Because you have this old explorer with a big mustache, friendly guy. And he has a very decorated multicultural inspired mansion, and he has this one thing, this one object, a mysterious music box, And then you have this cheeky monkey that you throw into the mix, and it just tells itself the story. It's so understandable, it's so obvious. And I think that's actually the strong thing about this ride, that it doesn't really matter if you speak the language, if you understand what he's talking about. I think it's a really smart decision to choose for this Alberto monkey. It's probably doing really well in merchandise, and it's a great character. It's just so cute and adorable. It's also great that throughout the dark ride, you have all these optical illusions that they use. In some places, they really blend the projections with physical set pieces very well. And much better than I've seen in many other dark rides where they also tried this. So maybe the scale of Mystic Manor seems a bit smaller than the Haunted Mansion or Phantom Manor in Paris, because those just seem to have really full scenes with a lot to see. But then again, this one has this trackless ride system, which is actually used very well, I have to say. And it really adds something to the ride, which is sometimes, very underused. We have seen multiple trackless ride systems in the UAE that just didn't use the system to its full potential. So I think they did a really great job with that. And I also love the fact that we were able to rewrite it over and over and over. It's just very special for a Disney resort where towards the end of the day, you end up with waiting times of about 5 minutes, which is crazy. We were able to walk out and walk in again and just keep on riding it until we were done with it. That also made the day very special. We have been doing this now for a year, and there is of course some data that came out of it, and I think it might be nice to just look into the data. So let's first go through the episodes that we released. The full episodes that we released were about the city of Dubai, about IMG Worlds of Adventure, about Motion Gate Dubai, and about Global Village in Dubai. Those are all theme parks in Dubai. And then we also did an episode about Ferrari World, about Warner Brothers World in Abu Dhabi, about SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, and then the city of Hong Kong and Hong Kong Disneyland was a 2-part episode. And altogether those were 10 full episodes. Can you recall, Alex, how much we published in the end in time?
Yeah, so I'm looking now into data and I can see that the full episodes were 9 hours, 48 minutes.
Yeah, and in total, together with all the smaller episodes, we uploaded, it's very ironic, 9 hours, 57 minutes and 58 seconds. So this means that we are only 2 minutes and 2 seconds away from an exact 10 hours. In our episodes, we also discuss always, especially for the theme parks, we discuss the theme park review form, which is a form in which we kind of rate the theme park and we also give it a N score. We have a couple of N scores that came out of that, and we made a list of how the parks that we have visited scored in total.
Hong Kong Disneyland scored actually the highest, 9.7 out of 10. Second position that scored the highest is Warner Bros, 9.5. And the third one, SeaWorld. And the park that scored the lowest is Ferrari World, 6 points. And actually this one's a little bit surprising to me because I would say Ferrari World is quite of an exciting theme park and many people love it for the thrill rides, and I know many people who would go to Yas Island just for this one, so I'm surprised that we scored it that low. Why do you think is that actually?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I think the reason why especially Hong Kong, Warner Bros. And SeaWorld score so high is because I think our emphasis when we do the ratings is especially on theming and thematic experiences, but also, the scenery, show effects, characters, atmosphere, and definitely also kind of the beauty of the park, so the layout and the diversity, the green space, the water, that kind of stuff. And it kind of shows that Ferrari World just doesn't really score very high in those aspects. I think Ferrari World was the weakest when it comes to, for example, the dark ride experiences. So Ferrari World is a spectacle, and it's definitely a thrill park for the thrill seekers. People who love coasters should go there. But for us, maybe we are more tailored towards the more thematic experiences, I think. And also in our episodes, we always discuss in the end, as a conclusion, if we regard something a trip on, a consider, or a trip off advice. We can go through the list, Alex.
Okay, so I will start from the bottom. That for the trip off, we both chose one park, and the park is IMG Worlds of Adventure, which is a little bit sad in a way because it is a huge park and that has a lot of IPs to offer. But I would say the relation of the price and what it has to offer maybe is not on the level of other parks. And then the consider one, do you know which one was the consider?
Yeah, we only have one also that we both chose to be consider, and that's Ferrari World. Yeah, so trip off. So for us, basically, an advice to just stay away from is IMG. I think it also has to do with the incredible competitive landscape that it's in. Because if you look at what is on offer in Dubai, I would much quicker send someone to, for example, Global Village or Motion Gate for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So I think IMG has a hard time to win our hearts there. And I think Ferrari World is kind of the reason that we discussed is that Ferrari World is also in a landscape of incredible competitors, even though it's all the same owner behind the scenes. But if you would go to Yas Island, you know, I wouldn't miss out on Warner Bros. And SeaWorld, for example. So yeah, that was the dry data. We might also go into a couple of fun facts about the podcast. So first of all, I wanted to talk about how complicated and sometimes maybe chaotic or challenging it was to record these episodes. First of all, we could start by saying that we didn't always record the podcast in a similar setting. We often had to either do it remotely, so on far distance from each other, where we had to connect online, or we were just in a completely different location altogether for several episodes. And can you let us know, Alex, where did we record this podcast?
Yeah, so we actually recorded so far in 4 different locations. Sometimes we were doing it in Dubai, sometimes in Abu Dhabi, and a couple of times we actually recorded in Poland or in the Netherlands. So it really depended. And also sometimes we were just sitting next to each other, but there were moments when we had to record remotely and make it all match and work. So this was pretty challenging sometimes.
Maybe another unfortunate fact, piece of trivia, is that we also sometimes had to re-record an episode because of technical reasons.
Yes. Yes, that's true. And sometimes we had also some extra sound on the background, like air conditioning that we didn't realize that was on and was working pretty loud. Or there was some event behind the window and it was pretty hearable and difficult to remove, so we had to redo the whole thing from the beginning.
Yeah, we had failing laptops. We had sound quality issues, technical issues. I think at least 3 of the episodes have either entirely been re-recorded or really big parts of it. There was even one episode where we were sitting next to each other and we were recording the entire episode while sitting next to each other. And then we found out that we had technical issues during recording and we had to re-record the whole thing, but already remotely when we already both traveled a different direction. And yeah, it is really challenging to do that because you're never going to do the same thing, of course. So yeah, you know, that's the challenge of doing something like this. And I think also important to note is that we really hope that that is not something that you notice when you listen to the podcast. But we would love to hear feedback on that if it is the case. Yeah, and something technical is that we already in a short time, we already had 2 different server hosts for the podcast. You can kind of say 3 actually, because we started with a different one. And we also switched already with the website host and with the website design. So we keep on tweaking and we hope that it's coming through very well and that it all works. So yeah, we are definitely not sitting still and we hope that we are improving the podcast over time.
Yeah, exactly. We would love to hear from you. What do you think? And if we could improve something. All right, so let's move to the next part where I would like to ask you a couple of questions. And question number 1 is, which place was your favorite that we visited and we recorded about?
My favorite place. Oh, that's a very good question. I think I would have to say Hong Kong, the city of Hong Kong. I always had it high on my list, and I think it really didn't disappoint. I was very impressed by the city. Plus, it comes with its own Disney resort, which was really great to combine.
Mhm.
So Hong Kong plus a Disneyland, which is completely different from the ones that we saw before. Yeah, that's a golden combination.
Yeah, I understand you. I didn't have it on my list before, but after you told me that we should do it, I got more hyped. And I think another favorite place could be SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, because I had pretty bad image about SeaWorld knowing the one in the US. And I wasn't maybe that excited, as I'm not really a fan of zoos. And I was a little bit hesitant, but once we were there, I did change my mind, and I think it's amazing. And the way that the aquarium areas are done is extremely impressive. It looks super futuristic, and it was just very nice to see what they've managed to achieve.
Yeah, I think SeaWorld altogether was a very big surprise for us. It's very memorable, and also it was one of the most enchanting experiences, with the scenery, with the music. Very impressive.
And I have another question to you. Which episode is your favorite?
Which episode is my favorite? So this question actually has two answers, because which episode was my favorite to record, or which episode turned out the best? I think those are very different. So I would say my favorite episode to record was probably either the City of Dubai or IMG World of Adventure. I think the City of Dubai, because we really, I think there was a nice flow, and also we both really enjoyed talking about Dubai because we discovered it and we really saw Dubai from a different side, I guess, after we spent a bit of time there. And we also really used this episode to investigate more, and we started to understand it more and more. And yeah, that really turned into a very nice episode and a very good discussion.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that one. I would maybe choose Dubai episode as well, because when we were recording it, we had to look more into data, maybe also check future development. And it was actually an episode that we really learned a lot just by doing it. So this was very nice.
There's also generally quite a lot of misunderstanding, I think, about the city of Dubai. And I think it's nice to clear some things up, because I have the feeling that many people have kind of a wrong image of Dubai, where they only perceive it as a city of the rich and city of influencers. And I think we used that episode to also show a different aspect.
To show that Dubai has many faces in a way and many different sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another episode that I did enjoy a lot to listen and to record, I would say it was Global Village, because it is a place that it's very hard to classify. Either it's a theme park or entertainment venue, but I would say it is also a cultural place, and I did really enjoy it to get to know more about Middle Eastern culture, even though in a way it's highly commercial and it's all about sales, but I think it has a nice touch to it, and actually a lot of people like to go back there.
Yeah, I think Global Village is one of those hidden gems that if you don't know about it, but you go there, you're like, wow, this is impressive. Another episode that I think really turned out well is Motion Gate Dubai. I really enjoyed that episode because Motion Gate is such a fascinating place. It is a place with attached to it really famous film studios, famous characters, a lot of different attractions. It's a theme park full of dark rides. So normally that would be a dream for any theme park enthusiast. But it also has a really fascinating history, with the failure of Dubai Land, but also with the whole aspect that not every ride is great over there. There's a very big difference in quality between several zones, and the DreamWorks area is incredible, but then you have a couple of things in that same park that are just like questionable, So I think just the diversity and the fascinating backstory make that a really interesting topic to talk about. And talking about the episodes, might be also interesting to look at like which episodes are actually the most popular, as which are listened the most. So from what I can see now is that the most listened to is Motion Gate Dubai. So that's actually interesting.
That's the one you chose. When we look into data further, it shows that the second most popular or most listened episode was Global Village. So the one that I chose.
Yeah, so the two favorites for us. Yeah. Yeah, and the one that is on the bottom is unfortunately SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. I think maybe people share this idea that you had from SeaWorld, that maybe people think that it's just another SeaWorld like the ones in the US or a zoo.
Let's go to the next question, which is, which place would you like to come back to?
Which place would I like to come back to? I would have to say Disneyland Hong Kong. Yeah. That was such a great experience. It was such a pleasant day, which was full of positive experiences. That first of all, it would be great to be back in Hong Kong for that. And second of all, I think that park is so charming. Yeah, it was lovely. I really enjoyed it, even with rain and you know, it was just a great experience altogether.
I definitely would like to see Hong Kong again because there is a lot to see still. But I would say maybe even Hong Kong Disney in particular, because we haven't really seen the end show and I would love to see it. And we've done most of the rides a couple of times, but I think it would be nice to have a chance to go to the park again because the atmosphere there was just so nice and pleasant.
Yeah, it would be great to end the day with the end show. Yeah, to really make it a full experience.
Yeah, this was what we actually missed. But I think I would also choose Abu Dhabi because I think the city has a lot to offer and we still have some things on the list to visit. Also, I'm looking into future development and it looks quite promising because they are now working on one island, Saadiyat Island, which is more of a cultural district. And they've already opened Louvre that we had a chance to visit, and it's extremely impressive, both in the architectural way, but also exhibition is very nice. And right now they are also building Guggenheim and a Natural History Museum. So I think this is quite exciting, and I think we should keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Abu Dhabi was always a surprise to us, and I think we always underestimated how much there is to experience over there. And you're right, it would be great to spend a bit more time over there. It's a fascinating city also.
I have the feeling that in Dubai we've really explored everything we could, but in Abu Dhabi there are still things on the list.
Yeah, I think slowly Abu Dhabi is also really earning its place on the field of architecture. There's some really, really interesting stuff happening over there.
I would like to ask you, what would be your dream episode to record?
My dream episode to record, I think, especially with my visit to Japan that I did recently, I would love to make an episode about Japan, but in particular about Disney Sea in Tokyo, which is quite famously regarded as the best theme park in the world. It's really famous. I think everyone professionally who works in the theme park industry knows about Disney Sea. Which is also, of course, not a surprise that it was high on my list. But now I visited it, and I have to say, even for me, you know, I'm so extremely critical. Disney Sea Tokyo did not disappoint. That was truly an amazing experience. My dream episode would be that if it was in the Tokyo Disney Resort, that I would record that episode about Disney Sea. So... Who knows?
That would be very nice. It's actually super funny that you mention it because I'm going to Tokyo in 2 days and I was considering if I should visit Disney Sea or not. So maybe you could tell me if it's worth to visit.
TripOn. Definitely TripOn.
Okay.
Now, what is your dream episode to make?
Yeah, I think maybe also Japan. Maybe I would think more about Japanese architecture or about Tokyo as a city.
Yeah, very interesting city, by the way. I think there's a lot to talk about there.
All right, let me ask you my last question. Who would you like to have as a guest in the podcast?
That's a very good question. I would definitely love to have a conversation with a industry professional. That would be great. And I think someone who would be really nice to have a conversation with is Michel den Dulk. He's also a Dutch creative lead working in the theme park industry. He works as a Disney Imagineer. He's just a great guy to talk to. And I had a couple of very pleasant conversations with him. And I think it would be really nice to just sit down and talk about something that fascinates us both. So yeah, who knows? Ever. For you, it might be completely different, because you're generally coming from a different field of work. So who would you love to have as a guest in the podcast?
Well, I think there are two different categories. One which is a bit more realistic and the other one which is a bit more dreamy. The realistic one would be a friend that we went on a tour together, and to hear different perspective and opinion of someone experiencing the same thing but maybe in a different way. And the dreamy one would be maybe some famous awarded architect who won some international prizes and done lots of projects around the world.
And which name comes up?
I would love to talk with Francis Queret. He actually was an inspiration for me when I was doing my last project, and he worked on a social architecture that was developed from natural materials in developing countries. Talking about Japan, I also have a favorite Japanese architect, Kengo Kuma. It would be very interesting to have a chance to talk to him as well, or to maybe visit more of his projects, maybe now in Japan.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, for both of us, those dreams might come true, You never know. All right, so there was just a different type of episode in between, a bit shorter than normal. If I could just say one more personal wish, is that I would love to have a bit of interaction and engagement with the listeners. I would love to hear tips and tricks and criticisms, feedback. How's the sound quality? What would you guys love to hear? Any great ideas you have? Reach out to us, and we would also really like to do some sort of listeners' questions episode where we talk about the stuff that the listeners brought in. So, yeah. And for you?
We would love to hear your insights so we could maybe improve or get to know what we could focus on more, what is more of your interest.
Yeah, so this is cheers to 1 year of TripOn podcast. And we have still a lot on the shelf to work on in the future, as you can hear. So maybe this Japan, we should make it happen.
We also did recently a trip to Singapore, which could also be quite interesting to discuss.
Yeah, Singapore was very impressive also. I would love to also make an episode about Singapore. Fascinating place. I think we generally just really want to thank the listeners, because without the listeners, I think we wouldn't be able to continue this kind of hobby project, actually. We are doing it as a hobby, but we are doing it with devotion. We try to really improve.
I would like to thank everyone who keeps the podcast alive, and thank you for listening to us one more time.
Yeah, I think we can close it off with our regular bit where we say, as always, our tip:
go on and plan your next trip.